Hey everyone, welcome back to Room 237, coming at you with another animated Batman film. This time I'll be doing the 2017, I think it was, Batman Gotham by Gaslight. Which of course is an adaptation of the 1989 graphic novel Gotham by Gaslight. Which I've already reviewed that, so feel free to check that out. I just want to check the year real quick because it's driving me nuts. Oh, I should have done all this before. 18. Okay, that's what I figured. 2018. So the story is about, one, it is Elseworlds. It is based on the graphic novel. So it's all completely, original. It's an Elseworlds story. And so this takes Batman and everyone in the Batman universe and sets it in Victorian era Gotham. Like 1890, I think it was. And Batman has to go up against Jack the Ripper. I think this is a very good animated film. Now, this was the second animated Batman film to be rated R after The Killing Joke. Which The Killing Joke, it was a very soft R. Even this one is still pretty soft. It drops an F-bomb, but there again, so does Beetlejuice. So, first and only Batman movie to say the F word. No, I'm not even going to say it. Yeah, I was going to say until Joker, but that's not a Batman movie. So, one thing you may be wondering is, because like I said in my review for this, because it also has the sequel, that's Gotham by Gaslight. So, how did they get a full 78-minute animated film out of that? Well, they learned from their mistake from The Killing Joke. Because The Killing Joke, which is probably twice as long as that, they still had to make up a half hour worth of time to get it to be a full length. So what did they do? They made a half hour short film about Batgirl. That's completely stupid, pointless. I hate it. And it has Batman and Batgirl having sex. Completely stupid. How they make up for time in this one is, and I haven't read the sequel, Master of the Future, so I don't know how much of that they could have blended into this. But everything that they add to it pertains to the story. You know, for example, it expands on when Bruce Wayne is in jail. We see more of the killings. There's even more killings. They add a shit ton of characters. Because one of the beauties of Elseworlds is, you could take everybody. Like, take Earth 1, for example, by Jeff Johns. That's a who's who of the Batman world. All just seeing how they're tweaked, how they're used differently to fit the story. Like, for example, it opens up with three boys who, I guess, they live on the street, they pickpocket. I guess they're supposed to give some to their leader or whatever, sort of a Irish Bugsy kind of guy. And their names are Dickie, Jason, and Tim. And I can't remember if it says that they're all brothers or maybe they're just friends. I think they're brothers. And Dickie's the oldest, then Jason, then Tim. All three Robins. Which I thought that was a cool idea. And, they actually make Harvey Dent a character where he's only mentioned in the graphic novel. A Bullock, Hugo Strange, Leslie Tompkins, Selena Kyle, even Solomon Grundy. Even though he's not Grundy in this, he's still Cyrus Gold. So they take a bunch of characters and we see how they are in this. And I think it's... Oh, and Poison Ivy. Actually, it opens up with a murder. Poison Ivy. She's not Poison Ivy. She's still, human. But she's an exotic dancer. And part of her stage persona is she wears, like, leaves and green. She's killed by Jack the Ripper. And I will say, this movie is pretty bloody. I mean, you don't really see the killing, but you see, like, the hand coming up with the knife and stabbing with blood going everywhere. Batman is voiced by Bruce Greenwood, who voiced Batman in Under the Red Hood. Selena Kyle is played by Jennifer Carpenter, who played Deb in Dexter. I think they both do a good job. I think sometimes Carpenter tries to do a little bit of like a Michelle Pfeiffer. Like sort of that like, well, I'm nobody's pet. Like the slow, soft talk. Who else is in this? No mention of the Joker, which I forgot to mention in my graphic novel review. There's no mention of the Joker. And usually, especially nowadays, if you want to do a completely original idea, you have to put the Joker in there. Like, I think DC will actually push you to do something about the Joker because it will sell more. John DiMaggio, who played Joker in Under the Red Hood, plays Police Chief Bullock, whose nickname is Mad Dog. A lot of them have, like, Irish accents. Tara Strong is a couple of people. But anyway. It shows how, like, Batman and Gordon sort of get acquainted and trust each other. Batman's not really framed the way he is in the graphic novel. It's more so Leslie Tompkins, who's a nun that looks after people who live on the street. Bruce realizes that, she's even cared for the prostitutes that have been killed. So he knows the Ripper's going after her, and he does. But there's this drunk woman named, I think, Marley. This old, drunken hag who sees Bruce going to trying to find Leslie Tompkins, but she thinks he's the Ripper, and then she's one of the next victims. So people, because she makes a scene at Tompkins' funeral. Like, I saw you there, you're the Ripper. And then she ends up dead, so yeah, they immediately arrest Bruce. And like, while he's in there, I think he breaks out because, the guards allow fighting down in the lunchroom. And the big champion fighter is Cyrus Gold, the guy who will become Solomon Grundy. But anyway, I'm getting really ahead of myself. After the opening of the film, we see Batman beat up the guy that sort of bosses the three Robins around. It opens up with, like, the opening of the Gotham World's Fair. And there we see, like, Hugo Strange and Selena Kyle, Harvey Dent. We see, like, all the Batman characters be introduced. And Selena Kyle is not Catwoman. She is a wealthy, aristocratic woman. She works in the circus. But when they're talking about their past, she says how she looked after the tigers and she loved the cats. Bruce and Harvey are friends, and Harvey has a thing for Selena, so they invite her along to go drinking with him, but she and Bruce click, and Harvey gets really jealous, so that's why he becomes, the prosecutor really wants to stick it to Bruce. There's even that good line when they're walking to a place to drink, and she's like, when Harvey drinks, he's like a completely different person. a real Jekyll and Hyde with the shot on Harvey. And the the twist ending for who the Ripper is in this is drastically different than in this. In this, it was Bruce's uncle Jake, who wasn't really his uncle. He was just a really close friend of his father's, so he sort of grew up knowing him as his uncle. Spoiler alert, but if you like Batman animated films, definitely check this out. Especially if you like seeing things that are different. You know, seeing 1800s Batman. Which actually, before I get into the ending, I can even talk about that. I love the look of 1800s Batman. Like, instead of a cape, it's sort of like that, like, sort of jacket that, like, Jack the Ripper wears, like, almost like a trench coat. You can see his eyes. And, you know, like, his grappling hook is like a rope instead of really strong, almost like carbon fiber wire. So it has pretty archaic gadgets. And, you know, I think that's really cool. See how Batman would have operated back then. The Batcave is like in an attic. I like the part where he's going over some evidence, and even Alfred's like, "Are you trying that fingerprinting technique again?" Like, I hope you know that will never catch on. No one will ever consider that evidence. But anyway, so yeah, I really like the look of 1800s Batman. So the twist is Jack the Ripper, spoilers, is James Gordon. Apparently, he had a rough upbringing from some nuns. Then he became a butcher, a trained fighter. Like he actually boxed. He was a trained competing fighter. Then he went into law enforcement, and he's going around killing these whores because of their sin. They're the biggest sinners there are. So he cleanses them by killing them as the Ripper and sending them to hell, I guess. Well, if he sends them to hell, that's not really cleansing. It's a holy war, basically. And even his wife, who's Barbara in this, she's just as crazy. Like, she supports this war. Like, when Batman finds out it's him, finds his sort of Batcave of Jack the Ripper, she has, like, acid burns. Say, like, he burns the sin out of us. So, like, there's this big showdown between Batman and Gordon on the Ferris wheel, this blimp at the World's Fair. Which first, Selina goes there to tell Gordon that Bruce is Batman, so he's not the Ripper, you have to let him out of jail. He attacks her, and I can't remember how she gets wounded, but she's bleeding. And there's this big spotlight as part of the World's Fair, it's like the brightest light ever. So she, like, crudely does, like, a bloody bat symbol to show him that's where she is. And pretty much when Batman gets him at the end of the fight, he's handcuffed to a railing on the Zeppelin. And he just, like, walks himself backwards into the flames. You know, sacrifices himself. Not really, you know, as if I deserve this, but more of just like, you know, you'll never take me. I'd rather do this. And then it ends with Bruce and Selina together, and they adopt the three Robins. Because Alfred calls upon them to help when he's in jail, and he gets a plan to escape. So it's Bruce, Selina, Alfred, all three Robins. Yeah, I don't know how I felt about Gordon being the Ripper. I mean, I wasn't expecting it at all. It is very different, you know, because Gordon's really always the guy you can count on for backing up Batman and helping enforce what's good. It'll probably be easy to think it would be the Joker, but again, I like that Joker's not even existent in this world. You know, because Joker, that's a whole other conversation. How, you know, if you have to have a Batman, you have to have Joker. Therefore, different version of Batman, different version of Joker. But I like how You know, it didn't need Joker to survive. Did think it was kind of weird that it was Gordon, but I bought into it. I mean, if it's Elseworlds, I can pretty much accept anything you do with the characters because it is alternate. I mean, if it's a bad story, it's a bad story, but it's easier for me to accept stuff like that. Other than that, there's not really much. There was just something in the back of my mind that I was going to mention. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, Gotham by Gaslight. It's as faithful as it can be to such a short story, but what it adds really helps the story. It helps further it along, whether it expands a scene, it completely adds something or adds characters. Like when he goes to see Hugo Strange for his theories on the Ripper, he works at Arkham, and the Ripper actually goes there to kill him, to not give his theory, but he throws him into this horrific pit of insane people, and you see them rip him in half. It's not bloody or anything, but... And, yeah, someone drops an F-bomb because he pretends to have sex with Selina in a carriage because he's Bruce Wayne. He's a bachelor. During all these traffic stops to find Batman. They're just like, lucky fucker. But yeah, it's different. It's kind of refreshing. It, again, as loyal as it can be to such a short story. And everything they added, I thought was for the better. Definitely not like Killing Joke. Gotham by Gaslight, I really enjoy. I gotta plug this thing in, so thank you for watching.